Hello and welcome to the Blytheway Morning Show. I'm Bonnie Hughes, VP Marketing and Sales for Red Cloud Klondike Strike. Our very interesting guest today is Condor Gold. They just achieved a major milestone by getting permitting for a construction and operation of a plant on their La India project in Nicaragua. Here to tell us all about this great achievement is CEO Mark Child. Hello, Mark, and thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
So what does this permit entail and what does it allow you to do?
The permit allows us to develop, construct and operate a new mine with processing of up to 2,800 tonnes a day or 1 million tonnes per annum. It'll produce about 100,000 ounces of gold.
And I understand, though, that the permit is not for the whole of the resource. And does that mean that you will be able to expand the permitting to cover the balance of the resource?
Well, the current permit is for a single open pit of about similar number to our PFS number, 43-101 PFS, which is 673,000 ounces of gold at 3.1 grams, so it's super high grade. That's what we've got the permitting for. But that only represents, as you indicate, about 40% of our resource area. So we think we can expand that significantly. And the first step in doing that will be to bring 3 feeder pits into the mine plan. So there is the possibility. But we would have to get additional permits to do that. But having got the master permit, I think that'll be relatively easy.
Yes, I'm sure. Hopefully it will be. And I understand that you have within their allowance for artisanal mining to also feed through the mill too.
Yes, there are artisanal miners in the area. Not too many, because it's a drier part of Nicaragua. But under the Nicaraguan mining law, artisanal miners are allowed on 1% of your concession area. So we think, in addition to what we will produce, we'll be able to buy approximately 10,000 ounces of gold a year from artisanal miners and put that through the main processing plant, thereby eliminating their use of mercury, which goes straight into the water table, cleaning up the environment. So we would do that as part of the process.
And I suppose that was very helpful in achieving your environmental permit by allowing this and implementing this into the processing.
They're a key stakeholder. So it's an old mining town that produced 500,000 ounces at 13 grams back in the 40s and 50s. There are artisanal miners there. I wouldn't, and they're a key stakeholder like the Catholic Church and community members and mayors and governments and so on. But it wouldn't be a key thing that came through. We work with them, we do ID cards with them, we employ a lot of them. 70% of the workforce on our surveys is actually currently doing artisanal mining. So that's your future workforce for the mine. So one of the things they're most interested in is actually getting out of artisanal mining, where there's no safety. And we're going to be training up 300, 400 people to work in the main mine and pay them significantly more than they would get paid as artisanal miners.
And what do you think was the biggest catalyst for helping you to finally achieve the mining permit?
Getting the social license to operate. By that I mean, and the main thing that we did in January was redesign the mine site infrastructure to avoid any resettlement at all. I mentioned it was an old mining town. So we made the pit about 25% smaller, and we're not resettling everybody. And that was a bit of a challenge at the social level. We trebled the size of the social team, so we have about 15 people working in it. We've been spending a lot more in the last 12, 18 months with the communities on water. We give water to 360 households at the moment, these 5-gallon drinking water things. We're doing a lot on the education, the healthcare, working with the Catholic Church. So the community relation bit, we upped significantly, because permits in many ways are also from the bottom up, not just the ministries. You've got to engage with the local population. And on the 13th of July, we had a public consultation or a public hearing with the local community. And that was very successful. 500 people attended that, registered attendees, all supporting the mine. And at one stage they chanted, "We want the mine, we want jobs." So that's a great, well done to our social team for for enabling that with the community and persuading them that this was going to live to a better quality of life for them and a more prosperous future. And so, and painting that vision of a better quality of life is been key to actually getting the locals on board, the local community and communities on board to support the mine. Because once they support it, very few politicians are going to say, no, we're not going to agree with what the majority of the community want.
Yes, exactly.
So you have to get that right. A major emphasis has to go on that, much more, I think, than many mining companies and certainly exploration companies anticipate. You've really got to put a big effort into the social side.
Oh, absolutely. And what are your current obligations under the permit in order to move things forward?
The permit's granted, and to say construct and operate, exciting. We're at a pre-feasibility study level, so in the next 12 to 18 months we need to complete a bankable study. So within the permit conditions, we should break ground in 18 months. We have to do final engineered designs for the tailings, for the processing plant, the hydrology studies, and the local ministry, Ministry of the Environment, has to sort of, and mines, the two ministries, they have to inspect that and be happy with the final engineered designs of everything. So 2 months before construction of those, we have to get them to look at the final plans. So there are a number of conditions that, as is totally normal in mining, it's not the finished project yet, but we've got to take it to bankable and do final engineering designs on all the different mine site infrastructure in about a 500 hectare area.
And do you have a sort of a time range of when you would start construction?
18 months.
18 months. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's the plan.
And
as we kind of, so we think that within 12 to 18 months we can complete the bankable feasibility study on the single pit. The recovered gold in gold bars, if you like, to put that in a layman's words, will be about 600,000 ounces out of that pit. We are currently saying, do we mine that at 80,000 ounces of gold a year? So we mine it out in 7.5 years. Or do we mine it out a bit more aggressively in 6 years and do 100,000 ounces of gold a year? Now, our internal studies show that we can actually do the faster rate, but we have to get that signed off independently by an outside consultant. So we're looking to try and obviously bring the cash flow forward, maximise the production rates within that pit. And one of the reasons we can do that is, as I mentioned, we've got 2.3 million ounces of gold. In fact, we've probably got a bit more because we've done 12,000 metres of drilling since that resource update was in December 14. So it's almost 4 years old, that, and we've put in a lot of drilling since. So we'll be a bit more on that. And because we've got so much, 60% is unpermitted, your game is to bring more of that into the mine plan.
so the life of mine is currently about 7 years, but I remember...
out of that single pit, yes.
Yes, okay, because I remember you've mentioned in the past that this could potentially be a new gold district.
Yes.
So there is a lot more potential for exploration and increase in resources as things progress.
That's right. So there's 2 points we're bringing out there. One is we're only permitting 40% of what we got, and we can bring quite a bit more of what we have into a mine plan. And secondly, that 2.3 million ounces, we can comfortably add another 1 million ounces within 12 months. We'd like that as an objective before we break ground and construction. And we will continue to demonstrate a major gold district. So although we've had a delay in permits, we haven't been twiddling our thumbs doing nothing with the project. We've actually completed the soil geochemistry survey over the whole area. So we're over 300 square kilometres.
Wow.
We've spent over $500,000 US just on assay samples. They all go to Canada, by the way. And that's shown, that lights up a big gold district. So we have the evidence for that now. We've also completed structural geological mapping. We have a new structural geological model. We've previously flown it with helicopter-borne geophysics and radiometrics and magnetic survey. We've walked many of the veins. There's 110 kilometres of veining on this project. It's a massive project. And that's just what's on surface. So quite often the gold veins, the pressure might stop 100, 200 metres beneath the surface. But what we know at surface is 100, and we've drilled 20% of that. We've we've probably trenched another 20%. So there's 50-60%, which we've just mapped and walked along. The geologists have walked along the veins there, but there's lots of potential. We think we're sitting on a major gold district with a minimum of 5 million ounces of gold.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
So that's the second part of the strategy, is how do we unlock that value? And we're really just, I think the project evolves. Now we've got the permit, this exciting part, is phase one of construction is to put up the main plant. But there's potential for feeder pits to come in, there's potential for underground mining to come in. And so as we go through that, we'll be running these other parts in parallel to unlock the value within the project.
And your current cash position, does that take you through your 2018 budget for drilling and BFS?
No, it takes us through the 2018, when we raised the cash in March this year, that was to see us through the permitting phase. So, and we've achieved that, actually early, if you like. We've achieved it in August. We're funded through this year and some of next year to carry out the bankable feasibility study and add another 1 million ounces, bring feeder pits into a mine plan. We'll need cash to do that. And so over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, we'll be looking at those financing options. And they're not necessarily a straight placement, either in London or Canada, because we're dual listed in Canada from January this year. But also, I would like to see a major gold producer coming as a validation of what we're doing. So having someone buy a 10% share in the company at a premium, and they have to pay a premium because there's a seat at the table for what's going on, and they need to pay for that. So we might be able to fund the next phase of the project without a general placement going out to shareholders. It could be a strategic coming in.
Right.
We should look at all our financing options, but I'm keen on getting a major gold producer to validate the project now that we've got permits, and now it becomes more attractive for them to do that.
Yes, for sure. And usually when you add ounces to the resource and you get a bank of feasibility study that shows the economics in a much more focused way, it does add value to the company.
Yeah.
So hopefully when those situations occur, that the shareholders will take note, and investors, and see that you've created and added more value to the company by adding resources and a BFS.
That's right. I think before we break ground in 18 months, it's beholden on us to maximise the value that we can with the project as a whole. With a bankable feasibility, which is in some ways a little boring. It's technical work, it's infill drilling. B, probably showing that the feeder pits, we can add another 20 to 40,000 ounces of gold production per annum from day one of production. So that might come in early. So we could size the whole project at over 120,000 ounces from open pit. Thirdly, to add in this 1 million ounces. And fourthly, to continue to show the district. But I'd like to run all those in parallel, not in sequence. And that hopefully leads to a major re-rating of the share price ahead of the final construction decision. And we might be sizing the plant at the end of that a little bit bigger, for example, is possible. But we'll have to do the work.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to watching the progress of the company quite rapidly, it sounds like. And we look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Blythe Way Morning Show. Have a very profitable day.